and we now move to our second segment. And another area where the leadership has been focusing on was empowering women. And during the latest edition of the organization of, or rather the OIC, the 8th edition of the OIC summit that was held here in Egypt on women, the president has said that Egypt over the coming 2 years will focus on two main issues: empowering women economically and combating the negative impacts of terrorism and extremism against women, and announced the establishment of the Organization of Women's Development, the first specialized organization within the framework of the OIC work to promote and protect women's rights. Let's watch this report. That Egypt achieves breakthrough in empowering women in recent years, and we'll come back for more discussion.
Celebrating the 8th Ministerial Conference of the OIC on Women taking place in the new administrative capital, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi stressed that Egypt, in cooperation with Islamic countries, was keen on achieving a major leap forward in handling women's issues. He said that Egypt will spare no effort to support the Women's Development Organization, which is an entity under the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. President el-Sisi announced that during the next 2 years, Egypt will focus on two main issues: empowering women economically and combating the negative impact of terrorism and extremism on women. During the celebration, First Lady Intisar el-Sisi gave a speech highlighting the efforts to empower women in the country over the past years. In her speech, she said that Egypt was able to achieve unprecedented breakthrough in empowering women, gender equality in recent years, thanks to political will. She added that Egypt has launched a national strategy for the empowerment of Egyptian women 2030 in line with its sustainable development goals. Intisar el-Sisi further stated that Egypt's president was the main supporter for increasing women's representation in the Egyptian parliament, in its two chambers by 27% and in the cabinet by 25%. Regarding the legislation aspects, the First Lady went on saying that Egypt's 2014 constitution includes more than 20 articles to guarantee women's rights in various aspects of life. She noted that Egypt approved a package of law amendments to protect Egyptian women, like criminalization of inheritance, deprivation, and heightening penalty of FGM, sexual harassment, and bullying. Intisar el-Sisi also went on explaining Egypt's stance to protect women amid the prolonged combat against the coronavirus pandemic, stressing that Egypt took the lead in issuing a policy paper responding to women's needs amid dealing with coronavirus pandemic, and launched a mechanism in 2020 to monitor policy's implementation. Egypt ranked first in a UN report discussing measures taken by states to support women amid COVID pandemic. The First Lady further highlighted the decision to call the year 2017 as the Year of Egyptian Women to reflect the status of the Egyptian women in society.
All right, welcome back. And indeed, the status of the Egyptian women in this society, or in Egypt, particularly in the recent years, and that's what we are focusing on tonight in our second segment with Mrs. Sherin Allam, business consultant and gender expert. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. When we want to describe the recent women's status in Egypt, how do you view it, or how do you describe?
Amazing, if I pick one word. But I think there is a lot that's been done for women lately. And I think they deserve it. They've been struggling for a long time to be able to reach different levels of change, of economic and social status. And I think they're gaining it very quickly.
Yeah, indeed. We're not speaking about just the economic and social status, but rather we're speaking on different areas and different arenas. And for instance, here we're speaking about a president, or the will of the leadership to empower women. And that in itself was a boost to what was achieved, because yes, indeed, we have been struggling, but there were no years.
Exactly. That's why I called it amazing.
Yes.
Because I think all the struggles just needed the right will.
Yes.
The right push from a president who believes in the power of women, what they can do, how they can change things. And it just changes a lot of things, definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of the issues that showed real political will was an increase of the proportion in the Egyptian House of Representatives. We're now speaking about the political side.
Sure.
And then we will be speaking about the economic and the social one.
Yeah.
So if we are speaking here about the political side, then we have to say that the proportion of women in the House of Representatives and in the Senate was raised to 27%, allowing them to assume leading posts in different state institutions. The recent announcement by the president that he would be holding position in the State Council.
Yes.
That was the latest announcement. How do you view that? How women in leading position, particularly political leader position, can really reflect on the strategy of the country, on what we aspire for the strategy of the country?
Women being in strategic positions make a huge difference because they have sort of a say in how things are argued, discussed, and decided. So it's very, very, very important that they have to be in leadership, not only this, also in government. I mean, all of this will create a lot of change in how women will be able to decide their own fate, how they will be able to make change happen. Women in general are change makers. And being in that position, I feel much happier to know that Egypt is moving in the right direction to change.
Well, it's not just empowering women, but also gender equality. And that was one issue that women have been suffering a lot. Not because of just legislations or laws that are put, but also because of the culture.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Culture is the silent sort of fighter that you have to fight it. It's always there. It's even if you issue rules and regulations when you want to implement, culture will always be the first hurdle that you're going to face when you're going through change. And I think one of the main things that women have to do when they are in these positions is to create a mind shift of how people can see certain things, and those things are in the culture itself.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. If we move on to another area, beside the political one, we also have to speak about empowering women on the economic side. And here we have to speak that from two areas: allowing women to be financially or support financial status of women from one side, households and working in the labor market and all this area, plus integrating women into the all-out strategic vision for sustainable development, or the 2030 sustainable development vision of 2030. How far was the leadership eager to do that and integrate women, and why exactly was such keenness on integrating women into this vision?
Women are, I mean, practically they are 50% of the nation. So if we have 50% of the nation not included in the economic sector, definitely it's going to impact a lot of what's happening on the ground. So including them into the workforce, making them able to earn money, making them able to have their individual status is definitely going to reflect in the country's GDP. It's going to reflect in how the whole economy is going to change. So I think the will is also because their status, their family status, and the country's status is going to change because of this. Definitely, on the ground.
When I'm speaking about the leadership and their keenness to handle issues of women in order to be able to empower them. Let's just shed light on those issues we're speaking about. What exactly were the issues that the leadership has pinpointed at and sought changing in order to focus on empowering women?
One of the main things is health, women's health, definitely, because that's one of the main areas that a lot of money is not spent, and a lot of the area where women suffer. And the whole family suffers. So I think that's one of the major areas that was just addressed directly heads-on from the beginning. And I think it's amazing, because if women take care of themselves, they can take care of their families.
Yes, and we have to here address the presidential initiative of the breast cancer campaign.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
I mean, the presidential campaign about breast cancer, about women's health, I think they're...
Chronic diseases.
Chronic diseases and the checkups.
100,
the 100, yeah, exactly. So
healthy lives.
Yes. So this is amazing, because women usually are the last persons that go and check their health. They just bear all and suffer in silence. And usually they are the first ones that fall, and the economy of the whole, or the economics of the family suffers. So, I mean, having a country take care of their health is amazing. That takes at least a big chunk of the problems that women used to ignore into consideration. So health is very important. I think the quality of living is amazing. Also, Haya Karima is one of the main things. I think women love their homes. They are the ones who stay home the most. They want a beautiful place, a safe place to raise their families. Giving them this home is amazing. So again, that benefits women more than men, to tell you the truth. So it's considering their safety, their homes, their families. All of these initiatives really support women. And I think they...
We're speaking here about not just Haya Karima or Decent Life Initiative, as this is a huge initiative that includes all...
No, I'm just talking about the small part that addresses this, not as the whole initiative is only this.
But also the Takaful
Karama, definitely. And this is the part, that's the third one I was going to say, is about pensions. Which is, again, the Takaful and Karama is one of the main things that really made a difference, and it took care of a lot of women that did not have access to pensions and support from this area.
Here let me say that we're speaking about a different Egypt, or in 2014 particularly, we have seen a whole change to women's status because of the inclusion of more than 20 articles on women's rights in the Constitution. And that was in itself a step that was really hailed by some of the international organizations who are really monitoring the situation or the status of women here, particularly the UN and other world organizations. How do you view the inclusion of 20 articles in the constitutions on women's rights, and how significant and important was such a step?
I think this step came a lot of years late. It should have been there a long time ago, but I mean, happening at that time was amazing, and it needed to happen because, again, women proved in 2011 that they can effect change. And having those articles in the Constitution proves that we can give them those rights, and if they have those rights, they're going to really cause a difference. From the internal part, if we talk about the external vision about these articles, definitely we were always criticized in not having these, although we might have had some of them not written and practiced in different ways. But once they're written, it really moved the perspective of the whole world on how they've seen Egypt's leadership looking on women. For them, this is a proof that we do respect women, we do believe in their needs, we do believe in the rights, and this shifted, I think, the balance of how they viewed our country as a whole.
We've been speaking about the leadership and their keenness. How about the civil society and the associations, and how do they work for the rights of women? How have been they working, and how have been they encouraged, particularly in the area of women, to much more support and boost the change for women's status?
I think now they are working in a more wholesome way. Before they used to address one point, one topic, for example, but now with the shift in that willingness to support women, it has become more of a bigger vision. They don't address only the rights, for example, of a home or of their rights for a pension. It's become, how do we improve their whole lives? How do we get them to be included in society? How do we get them to be, have financial inclusion, for them to have, as we said, pension, health rights? I mean, it's become more comprehensive. What do they do in particular? They have programs now that is more addressing this women from a social, economic, and a cultural point of view, while before it was all subdivided into small things. And I think the impact is much bigger this way.
Yes, I here was really, or what I meant here was the kind of contribution or the kind of partnership between the government,
okay,
and the private sector and the civil society associations or the NGOs in trying to boost the status of women, or how is this trying to help that partner, or the other side, the partner is trying to help?
I think we are now more focused, having a clear strategy that takes us to a vision in 2030. Again, having a clear status of, as you said, the Constitution is stating it, having statements that are clearly said in every way has helped to get public, private, and NGOs to work together towards a goal or goals. So having this in front of everybody, the programs that are being created, there are more synergies, definitely. There are more programs between all those sectors, and I think this is creating more impact than ever.
When we look to the Egyptian Vision 2030, we see it goes in parallel to the UN SDGs, exactly. And one of the SDGs is the gender equality and the status of women, or enhancing the status of women. From your point of view, how the experience of empowering women in Egypt inspired the states that are surrounding Egypt? I mean here, the Arab world, Africa, and the Islamic world at the same time.
I mean, again, Egypt has always been in the center of everything. So that change happening, it's emanating all around the messages. I think we're affecting the continent, Africa, by leading into how we make change for women. How do we do it? There are lessons learned, there are examples that we can share. And it's being shared. Having women, again, as you said, in parliament, this by itself is a model that is being replicated and studied and taught in different countries on the political level. On the economic level, you have a lot of the examples that's happening. Again, they're studying them, and we're being asked to replicate them. So we are, by example, I think we're affecting change in the region.
Here I have to say, come to shed light on the latest OIC meeting or conference that was held here in Egypt, and was addressed by President Sisi, in which he announced the establishment of the Organization of Women's Development. And that is the first specialized organization within the framework of the OIC work to promote and protect women's rights. Let me know more about this organization, and let me know more about such an announcement coming from Egypt.
It's expected from Egypt, because if we are leading in changing the world on how, not the world, in our region, how women are viewed, I wouldn't expect any less. But we should do this. We should start creating this. And I think part of it is also about trade, and it's women's trade. It's something that has been announced, I think, in how women can cross borders in trade. And this is key in the change that will affect women. Because if women are empowered without the limitations of borders, I think the sky's the limit for them. So one of the main things, beside the political impact, I think also the economic impact is huge through this organization.
But here, this organization, and we're speaking about the Islamic world, the OIC.
Yeah.
So it goes within the OIC framework of work, and it is specialized within the framework of the to promote and protect women's rights.
Yes.
When we speak about women's rights, the President has spoken about protecting women from extremism and violence. How do you view that? How do you read such statements?
It's a very important statement, but implementing it is the challenge, because we have to again stand against a lot of the parts that have been stable, have been there for a long time. You have to shift viewpoints that definitely they have to be shaken by a lot of things. I mean, even
we're speaking about a region that is facing lots of wars, that is facing lots of ideologies, extremist or ideologies that suddenly erupted out of the blues. Yes, and we are seeing some of the greatest violence against women. Particularly, you have seen how those terrorist groups, how they dealt with women. So when we speak about protecting women, how far can we do that? And how far can there be a kind of change to women's status, particularly in countries and states that are enraged by wars, by extremism, and all this?
I think the statement is, it trickles down to women, but it's much bigger than that. And it gives the right to use anything to actually protect women. And I mean, women are part of the extremism and the whatever is happening on the ground. So again, the message is we're going to do it at every level. But protecting women in particular, I think really draws the attention that we're going to even use it to protect women. And that's good enough.
I have only 1 minute left for me, and I need, what are your aspirations for women, for the Egyptian women at this very upcoming stage and for the future to come?
I honestly would love to see them keep at the pace they're doing. I want more women of all types, of all places in Egypt, to be able to reach their dreams, to achieve it, and not to worry about whether we're fit or not. They can be fit if they want. So just have the dream and really make it happen.
I guess we all have this aspiration, right?
Yeah, we do.
Ms. Sherin Allam, business consultant and gender expert, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And dear viewers, many thanks for watching. Next Sunday would be another debate. Until then, good night.